Letter number 11. I've had a conversation with your talented friend. From the very beginning of his talk with me, it was apparent what considerable gifts of character and intelligence he possesses. He gave me a foretaste of his capabilities, to which he will certainly live up, for the things he said, caught as he was quite off his guard, were entirely unrehearsed. As he was recovering his self-possession, he could scarcely get over his embarrassment, always a good sign in a young man, so deep had the blush been that suffused his face. This, I rather suspect, will remain with him even when he has built up his character and stripped it of all weakness, even when he has become a wise man. For no amount of wisdom enables one to do away with physical or mental weaknesses that arise from natural causes. Anything inborn or ingrained in one can by dint of practice be allayed but not overcome. When they face a crowd of people, some men, even ones with the stoutest of hearts, break into the sort of sweat one usually sees on persons in an overheated and exhausted state. Some men experience a trembling at the knees when they're about to speak, some a chattering of the teeth, a stuttering tongue or stammering lips. These are things which neither training nor experience ever eliminates. Nature just wields her power and uses the particular weakness to make even the strongest conscious of her. One of these things I well know is a blush, which has a habit of suddenly reddening the faces of men of even the most dignified demeanour. It is, of course, more noticeable in the young, with their hotter blood and sensitive complexions. Nevertheless, seasoned men and aging men alike are affected by it. Some men are more to be feared on the occasions when they flush than at any other time, as if in so doing they let loose all their inhibitions. Sulla was at his wildest when the blood had rushed to his visage. No features were more susceptible than Pompey's. He never failed to blush in company, and particularly at public meetings. I remember Fabianus blushing when he appeared to give evidence before the Senate, and this bashfulness looked wonderfully well on him. When this happens, it is not due to some mental infirmity, but to the unfamiliarity of some situation or other, which may not necessarily strike any alarm into inexperienced people, but does produce a reaction in them, if they are thus liable through having a natural physical predisposition to it. Certain people have good, ordinary blood, and others just have an animated, lively sort of blood that comes to the face quickly. No amount of wisdom, as I said before, ever banishes these things. Otherwise, if she eradicated every weakness, wisdom would have dominion over the world of nature. One's physical makeup and the attributes that were one's lot at birth remain settled no matter how much or how long the personality may strive after perfect adjustment. One cannot ban these things any more than one can call them up. The tokens used to portray embarrassment by professional actors, those actors who portray emotions, simulate unhappiness, and reproduce for us fear and apprehension, are a hanging of the head, a dropping of the voice, a casting down of the eyes, and keeping them fixed on the ground. A blush is something they can never manage to reproduce. It is something that will neither be summoned up nor be told to stay away. Against these things, philosophy holds out no remedy, and avails one nothing. They are quite independent. They come unbidden, they go unbidden. My letter calls for a conclusion. Oh, here's one for you. One that will serve you in good stead, too, which I'd like you to take to heart. We need to set our affections on some good man and keep him constantly before our eyes, so that we may live as if he were watching us, and do everything as if he saw what we were doing. This, my dear Lucilius, is Epicurus' advice, and in giving it, he has given us a guardian and a moral tutor, and not without reason either. Misdeeds are greatly diminished if a witness is always standing near intending doers. The personality should be provided with someone it can revere, someone whose influence can make even its private inner life more pure. Happy the man who improves other people not merely when he is in their presence, but even when he is in their thoughts. And happy, too, is the person who can so revere another as to adjust and shape his own personality in the light of recollections even of that other. A person able to revere another thus will soon deserve to be revered himself. So, choose yourself a Cato, or if Cato seems too severe for you, a Lelius, a man whose character is not quite so strict. Choose someone whose way of life as well as words, and whose very face, as mirroring the character that lies behind it, have won your approval. Be always pointing him out to yourself, either as your guardian or as your model. There is a need, in my view, for someone as a standard against which our characters can measure themselves. Without a ruler to do it against, you won't make the crooked straight. Letter number 12. Wherever I turn, I see fresh evidence of my old age. I visited my place just out of Rome recently, and was grumbling about the expense of maintaining the building, which was in a dilapidated state. My manager told me the trouble wasn't due to any neglect on his part. He was doing his utmost, but the house was old. That house had taken shape under my own hands. What's to become of me if stones of my own age are crumbling like that? Losing my temper, I seized at the first excuse that presented itself for venting my irritation on him. It's quite clear, I said, that these plane trees are being neglected. There's no foliage on them. Look at those knotty, dried-up branches and those wretched, flaking trunks. That wouldn't happen if someone dug round them and watered them. He swore by my guardian angel he was doing his utmost. In everything his care was unremitting, but the poor things were just old. Between you and me now, I had planted them myself, and seen the first leaf appearing on them myself. Then, turning towards the front door, I said, "Who's that? Who's that decrepit old person? The door's the proper place for him, all right. He looks as if he's on the way out. Where do you get him from? What was the attraction in taking over someone else's dead for burial?" Whereupon the man said, "Don't you recognize me? I'm Felicio. You used to bring me toy figures. I'm the son of the manager, Philocitus, your pet playmate." "The man's absolutely crazy," I said. "Become a little child again, has he? Actually calls himself my playmate? Well, the way he's losing his teeth at this very moment is perfectly possible." So I owe it to this place of mine near town that my old age was made clear to me at every turn. Well, we should cherish old age and enjoy it. It's full of pleasure if you know how to use it. Fruit tastes most delicious just when its season is ending. The charms of youth are at their greatest at the time of its passing. It is the final glass which pleases the inveterate drinker, the one that sets the crowning touch on his intoxication and sends him off into oblivion. Every pleasure defers till its last, its greatest delights. The time of life which offers the greatest delight is the age that sees the downward movement, not the steep decline, already begun. And in my opinion, even the age that stands on the brink has pleasures of its own, or else the very fact of not experiencing the want of any pleasures takes their place. How nice it is to have outworn one's desires and left them behind. Well, it's not very pleasant, though, you may say, to have death right before one's eyes. To this I would say, firstly, that death ought to be right there before the eyes of a young man just as much as an old one. The order in which we each receive our summons is not determined by our precedence in the register. And secondly, that no one is so very old that it would be quite unnatural for him to hope for one more day. Every day, therefore, should be regulated, as if it were the one that brings up the rear, the one that rounds out and completes our lives. Pacuvius, the man who acquired a right to Syria by prescription, was in the habit of conducting a memorial ceremony for himself, with wine and funeral feasting of the kind we are familiar with, and then being carried on a bier from the dinner table to his bed, while a chanting to music went on of the words, "He has lived, in Greek, amid the applause of the young libertines present. Never a day passed by but he celebrated his own funeral. What he did from discreditable motives, we should do from honourable ones, saying in all joyfulness and cheerfulness as we retire to our beds, I have lived,